Japanese have attacked Pearl Harbor by air.
Ask not what your country can do.
Kennedy has been shot.
One small step for man.
These truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Eagle Houston, we see you on the steerable, over.
On the night of July the 20th, 1969, two American astronauts were attempting to do something no human being had ever done before.
Roger, Eagle, done dot. Roger, how does it look? The Eagle has wings. Roger.
Neil Armstrong from Ohio and Buzz Aldrin from New Jersey were the two men sent to complete a promise made by President Kennedy at the beginning of the decade.
During our descent, everything looked good approaching the point coming around the moon, except our communication was a little scratchy.
We're going to try it.
There was an anxious moment.
Gonna go for landing. Retro. Go. Fido. Go. Guide. Go. Control. Go. Telcom. Go. GNC. Go. Ecom. Go. Surgeon. Go. Capcom, we're go for landing.
Altitude 4,200. Houston, you're a go for landing, over.
I was in the control center at Houston.
11 forward, coming down nicely, 200 feet. 4.5 down. 5.5 down.
You know, there was some doubt about this clear up to the last.
60 seconds.
As to where they were coming in, whether they had enough fuel or not, were they going to be able to land where they knew there was a surface that was going to be reasonably good for them to land on.
Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
It's a gee whiz and few. It's a yeah, we're down, and I can remember just looking this way and leaning over and patting Neil on the back and just kind of saying, well, we made it.
We copy you down, Eagle.
A journey of 250,000 miles. It took 300,000 American workers to make it happen.
Step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
600 million people were watching, 1/5 of the entire world's population.
We were seeing things that no one had seen before. Stark beauty. It's so pure, and it's so perfect. Magnificent desolation.
On the Sea of Tranquility, Armstrong and Aldrin left a plaque that read, "We came in peace for all mankind." On Earth in the summer of 1969, peace and tranquility were merely concepts. At the end of the 60s, America was still haunted by memories of the young president, whose election had ushered in the decade and whose assassination had shattered its optimism. Kennedy's inaugural pledge to pay any price and bear any burden to defend freedom was being severely tested in Vietnam. President Johnson's further escalation of the war had cost him the presidency, and in 1968, Richard Nixon was elected largely on the promise to win peace with honor. To his supporters, that meant an outcome that would further American interests and ideals in the world. To his critics, it meant prolonging the horror.
All we are saying is give peace a chance. Listen now! Speak now! Speak! Hell no! We will go!
January 20th, 1969. Inauguration Day for the 37th President of the United States.
These
difficult years, America has suffered from a fever of words. We cannot learn from one another until we stop shouting at one another, until we speak quietly enough so that our words can be heard, as well as our voices.
There were virtually two Americas when Richard Nixon took office, and they collided that day in the first major disruption of an inaugural ceremony in the history of the Republic.
Eggs were thrown, obscenities were thrown, the placards were out there that were just awful. We were so torn apart that we couldn't even inaugurate a freely elected president with the dignity and the pomp and circumstance that such an occasion demands. And it was really a terrible low point in American history.
What I seen on newspapers and television, it was hard to believe. Desecration of a flag that I personally fought for and put my life on the line, along with many other people. And here you are carrying Kong flags. This really disturbed me to really bad, boiling points.
He divided the public, and he was in some ways the worst possible leader that we could have had in the time of this great divisiveness, because that was Nixonian politics, to play to the divisiveness, to divide the body politic into them and we.
The we in that equation were the people the administration referred to as hard-working, tax-paying, patriotic Americans. Their enemies, the them, were represented by the vociferous demonstrators who said they were patriots too, moved by conscience to oppose the war. In November of 1969, 700,000 of them came to Washington.
I'm not sure, looking back, that going to a rally like this was going to make any difference, but that was a time where there was an electricity in the air. Everybody's soul was involved in it. Everybody's heart was involved in it. We felt that we had some input in the world, and we could change the world. There was a revolution going on, and we were all a part of it.
I think the people were really fed up with that crowd by the time we went into office.
I think that
during the Nixon administration, Patrick Buchanan was a speechwriter for the president and the vice president.
The silent majority was what we called middle America. It looked upon these kids as very privileged. They were going to college, and then they were behaving like that when the other kids were in Vietnam doing their duty. So it was more a sense of disgust and fed upness.
Spiro is our hero! Spiro is our hero! Spiro is our hero!
And while the counterculture may have worshipped its rock stars, Vice President Agnew gave middle America a hero of its own.
But Agnew's role was the bayonet of the Republican Party and the tribune of the silent majority.
Thank you very much.
And he played that role extremely well.
Thank you very much.
The man who had been a joke in 1968, at the end of '69, was the third most admired man in America, behind the president and Billy Graham.
A spirit of national masochism prevails, encouraged by an effete core of impudent snobs who characterize themselves as intellectuals.
Agnew's speeches delivered to enthusiastic audiences attacked everything from professors, students, and reporters to the counterculture's favorite music and movies. By the late 60s, everything was political.
A popular recent movie, I won't name it here because I don't want to promote it, has as its heroes two men who are able to live a carefree life off the proceeds of illegal sales of drugs. No sympathy is wasted on the wrecked lives of the people who bought their drugs or financed our heroes' easy ride.
One of the big movies in this superheated time became a metaphor for the widening gap between the straight and the hip, the old and the young.
Easy Rider. Oh, yeah, Easy Rider. Yeah, there we are. Easy Rider. Yeah, well, where do you want to start there?
That film was so extraordinarily unlike anything that had gone before. Its sense of really growing out of the culture, not even trying to reflect the culture, but just being the culture.
What the hell is this? Troublemakers?
That had so much to say about the society, about the becoming a society of two cultures along generational lines and other kinds of lines.
Why don't you get a haircut?
That it was like getting hit in the gut by a fist.
My idea was basically to talk about America, talk about the problems, and at that time I felt that the country was going to explode. It wasn't going to, it was exploding, and it was really happening.
As the 60s came to a close, the violent and deadly backlash in Easy Rider was an eerie foreshadowing of real events to come.
Communication with somebody south of here and push him north on his brow into us.
In cooperation with the armed forces of South Vietnam, attacks are being launched this week to clean out major enemy sanctuaries on the Cambodian-Vietnam border. This is not an invasion of Cambodia.
In May of 1970, when President Nixon announced that American troops were being sent into Cambodia, 350 college campuses erupted in violent protest.
Nixon had been promising, we're getting out of it. And all of a sudden, here comes this invasion of Cambodia. Another country added to the list. It was just a shockwave around the nation.
Area immediately. Leave this area immediately.
At Kent State University in Ohio, the ROTC building was firebombed. The governor called in the National Guard. Taunts and rocks were thrown. Before it was over, 4 college students were shot and killed.
It represented a country gone mad. American troops shot down American students who were changing classes. That's the point we had gotten to.
After the violence of Kent State, polls found 58% of the respondents sided with the guardsmen, only 11% with the students.
By order of President White, the university campus has been closed. Please return to your dormitories and leave the campus by the shortest route.
The backlash of opinion against campus demonstrators would only grow. Following Kent State, some 75 colleges were closed down for the rest of the year. The cause, they said, was student unrest. Four days after Kent State, a massive demonstration in Lower Manhattan set off legions of hard hats whose rage had been building for years.
It was never planned to explode, but it did explode. Well, I was on Water Street, and we all just headed towards Broadway, and all you could hear was just shouting in senses of, let's get the bastards and let's finish this once and for all. And there was some blood spilt. But it was all in anger, all in vengeance. Let's get them. And a lot of people, including myself, was releasing the hate and the feelings that you had. Of course, a lot of us felt winners.